Hey, what's up, everyone? It's your girl, Sherelle. I'm the host of Let's Talk the Show, and this ain't a podcast. I want to thank y'all for tuning in with me this Tuesday, like y'all do every Tuesday. We got a very lovely show in store for you guys. But before I go any further, make sure you click the button in your lower right corner and share this live with 3 friends you think will love the conversation. You guys, it is Valentine's Day, so woo-hoo! Shout out to all the lovers in the building. I see you guys are joining. So shout out to all the lovers in the building. We got a great show in store. We're going to be talking about getting married and staying married, you guys, okay? It is not enough to just get married. You got to stay there. And so I'm super excited to talk with my former teacher, Mr. Lockhart, tonight about that, of course, from a black man's perspective. But before we go any further, you guys know I got to give you something that I'm grateful for. And so I see you guys joining. Make sure you drop in the comment section something you're grateful for. I would say that I am grateful for tonight. What am I grateful for? I'm just grateful to be alive, to do it again another day. I am grateful for life, you guys. Okay, can I get one person to drop in the comment section something you're grateful for? And then I'm going to share this live, and then we're going to get our special guest on, you guys. We have a really good show in store. I'm super excited. Y'all, my eyes are killing me. This is crazy. I can hardly see anything, y'all. So make sure y'all share this live. I'm going to go ahead and share. Make sure you guys share this live with 3 friends y'all think would love it. And then drop something in the comment section you're grateful for. And then let's get this party started, you guys. Okay, let's see. All right. Y'all. Hello, hello, hello.
What's going on?
How you doing, Mr. Lockhart?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm so happy to have you tonight to talk about getting married and staying married. Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you. Same to you. I'm glad to be here.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the way that I have to kick every show off is you got to give us something that you're grateful for.
Grateful to be in this space right now at this very moment. As we all know, not a lot of people can say that. I definitely want to send thoughts and prayers to all of the Michigan State University community for the tragedy that took place last night.
Absolutely.
So, I echo what you said. I'm grateful to be here, to be in this space and time, and to be here with you tonight.
I'm so happy to have you. Okay, so we gotta talk about a lot, but we not.
Okay.
I know it's Valentine's Day, so we ain't gonna take up too much of your time because I know you got a missus that you gotta tend to today.
Yeah, I'm a seasoned vet though, so we don't really put extra emphasis on the Valentine's Day, but yeah, I'm here.
Okay, all right. So, well, I got plans, so y'all, I'm gonna make it real.
Hey,
I'm gonna make it real nice this week.
Before we get started, though, can I just say how extremely proud I am of you? For me, first being introduced to you, I think it was like the 4th or 5th grade, and to see you blossom into the young woman that you are today, speaking on this platform, establishing this platform. I'm extremely proud of you and all of your accomplishments. So, kudos to you.
Thank you, Mr. Lockhart. I appreciate that.
No problem at all.
This is gonna be so sweet, y'all. Okay, so we gotta talk about, first off, you will be married. You said not 10, so 8 this year, right? 8 years married.
8 years.
And how would you sum it up? If you had to give me one sentence to sum up this beautiful 8 years of marriage, what would you sum it up with?
Wow. One word?
Or give me a sentence.
I would say it's been a blessing.
Ooh.
It's been a blessing, for sure.
I like that.
Yep.
What were you about to say?
No, I was about to say I can expound on that.
Go ahead. Why do you think it's been a blessing?
For one, it's a blessing because whenever, 2 people are able to find each other in such the craziness that is this world.
Yeah.
and both be able to, you be a vessel of God, really,
Yeah.
into each other's lives. That's you can't put a price point on that. That's something that's invaluable, and that's something that I can probably say that I'm blessed to have in my life. So nothing
I
but
agree.
a blessing.
I like that. So we're gonna be tackling getting married, how you
Mm-hmm.
got down the aisle, and
Mm-hmm.
how you guys have kept it together for so long. And we're also gonna be tackling, because one thing I see with a lot of young men is about what men get out of marriage.
Okay.
And not only do I want to use this opportunity to talk about from a black man's perspective what women can do better to improve their marriage or get down the aisle, but also how to encourage young black men to not stray so far away from it. I understand marriage ain't for everybody,
Mm-hmm.
but it is a beautiful thing, and there are very many benefits. So I would think that a very seasoned man could give that advice to young, immature men from that perspective. Okay,
Sure.
so
Let's do
let's
it.
talk about honestly, what do you think about views of marriage now? Like, you've been married 8 years. You didn't just get married
Mm-hmm.
yesterday. So
Mm-hmm.
you know the women have changed just from your perspective. You work in the school system, you see the difference in the women. And what do you think, like, how do you think the views on marriage have changed since you got married?
From which standpoint? From a male's perspective, or just
Just
in general?
in general.
I think that the views on marriage has changed because it's not as it once was. If you look at historical times back in the day, maybe your great grandmother, my great grandmother, they were they were raising kids and getting married at like 15.
It was a little
Um,
weird, though. It's a little
yeah,
weird.
yeah,
But,
that's a little weird.
but yeah, I get the sentiment, though.
But I think the value of marriage was placed heavily on both, men and women. And
Yeah.
so, we saw that with, our grandparents and, their parents, and, it may have trickled down to our parents. But I think nowadays, just, simply put, the value of marriage is not there. Um, and it's a few reasons to what I think it is. I don't think that is, pretty much valued in our culture as it once was.
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
everyone is, kind of out for self, and have become untrusting of themselves to others. I also think too, in this social media age, men and women don't really know how to. I can only speak for men.
Yeah.
But our young men don't know how to properly, approach a woman. They don't know how to properly court a woman, because everything is done through texting now. So you got texting, you got IG. So if a dude want to holler, all you got to do is slide in your DM.
Yeah.
Back in my day, we had to go to the mall. We actually had to interface with
Yeah.
with a young lady that we were, looking to get the number or whatever. But we actually had to talk,
Yeah.
to them.
Good
But
old
now
human
every
interaction.
day, now every day, everything is done through the phone, so it's not interpersonal like it used to be. And so, that's just a few of my thoughts. Just, I don't think that, even on the young women's part, I don't think that they require much from our young men, like they did back in the
Yeah.
day. And I don't want to be the quote unquote old guy or whatever, but it just was different. We couldn't, send an email or just slide in a girl's DM and think we would just go,
Yeah.
link up. It just wasn't going down like that.
You absolutely right, Mr. Lockhart. I agree. So so you get married. You get married in the era where you gotta have human communication. You gotta have at least a little type of game, something, but you gotta have some substance to you. So what exactly did you see in marriage that you could say, hey, as a young man, this is somewhere I see myself. Like, I can see myself taking this step. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
I'm working. What do you need? No. Sit down. No, I can't help you. Sit down. What do you
I know. I was about to say I know all too well. I know all too well.
Man,
Both my kids
I'm
upstairs.
talking about work from home all day, and it's just the kids, you just always here.
I know all too
Okay,
well.
so you get married 8 years ago. We're gonna say 10 years ago. We're gonna run up. You get married 10 years ago because at least you started the dating process. And so, what did you see in marriage, or what did you see in marriage 10 years ago that you say, hey, I can see this for myself, or this is something that I would want as a young Black man?
Well, I attribute my views on marriage to my parents. They pretty much raised they pretty much established the framework of marriage and what, I aspired my marriage to be. I grew up in a two-parent home. I saw how they were able to communicate effectively. I saw how they were not able to communicate effectively and how they were able to kind of establish, some of those solutions to, my dad being the way he was, my mother being the way she was, and how they were able to mesh those things together. And sadly, my parents actually passed away when I was 15.
I'm sorry to hear that.
The blessing, thank you. The blessing in that is that I was then raised by my grandparents, my maternal grandparents, and they kind of picked the ball right up from where my parents had left off. So then I had another set of examples to kind of look at and go off of. So I would have to say directly, my views of marriage, specifically came from that. I've always been a guy that kind of wanted to emulate, what I saw my parents having growing up, and I wanted that for myself as well. So that was the easy part, but finding someone worthy, of that to share with was, sort of the hard part.
Absolutely. I think that you got a really unique perspective because you got two different generations of what love looks like and what that marriage bond looks like, because it was definitely valued. If it was valued before with our parents or our parents, our grandparents, it was definitely valued before them.
Yeah.
So you definitely get different styles of communication, two different generations, two different views on the world, but you still get the same message that two heads are better than one and we're better together. And that's really amazing. So I'm gonna ask this just because this is, and we don't gotta go too far into it. Why do you think these marriages aren't lasting like our grandparents' marriages are lasting?
I don't know. I think that it could be a situation where people nowadays see, the value in themselves and their worth. Not to say that our grandparents didn't or our great grandparents didn't, but I think that people nowadays are just in the belief of, if I'm not happy, my spouse or significant other is not happy, then maybe we should kind of end this and go our separate ways,
Right.
And start over. That's honestly, how I see it. I don't necessarily, I don't look down upon anybody who has chosen divorce. I know some very happily divorced people, and they ultimately had to, choose that decision for themselves and their family. I'm pretty sure it was a hard decision.
Absolutely.
And one that they, pretty much prayed about and was led, to this decision. But I just think that it's just that, people are more accepting to change than maybe our grandparents were, during their day of, getting married and staying married.
That was definitely not that type of change you wanted to have in the household. I think it was definitely much more frowned upon to be separated.
Oh yeah,
and especially as everybody was having a lot more kids. Like they having kids now, but they ain't having kids like they was having then. They was having
right.
lots of kids.
Yeah.
So okay, so let's talk about getting down the aisle. You find your lady, and you find your lady and you step into the role of becoming a husband. I like to
Mm-hmm.
think that now there are far more resources and platforms to talk about what it's like to be stepping into this role. But what was it like stepping into that role back then? I don't have to say back then. I don't want to make you sound so old, but
No, I,
10 years ago, what was that like? 8 years ago, let me be specific. 8 years ago, what was that role like?
it was one of excitement, one of, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. It was just, you know, having something to figure out with another person who's never done this before.
Right.
So one of the main things that my wife and I kind of had to tackle, early on in our marriage was, number one, living together. We decided prior to us getting engaged and us ultimately getting married that we would live together. So we kind of had a grasp on, jointly running a household and, handling things together. But in terms of moving into a marriage, there were certain things that, you would think that two people, we were engaged for 2 years. You would think that two people who had been living together, who had been together at that time for 5 years, would pretty much have a pretty good handle on one another. But there were certain things that I still needed to learn about her. There were certain things that she still needed to learn about me. And so one of the main things that we had to establish was, number one, our love language, how we communicate with each other. All those things were important in building and establishing our foundation of Jamar and Courtney. I would say without that, it definitely could. It very well could have led to, divorce or, separation or whatever have you. But we were so locked in wanting to get to know each other, more. And I know that sounds kind of backwards that you get married to then learn your spouse, but it's something that you absolutely have to do. You may think that, I've been with this guy or this woman or whoever for, X amount of time. We know each other. We ready. But it's just something about, once you say those vows and, things get really real, that you have to really start to kind of take into account each other's likes, each other's dislikes, how they like to receive communication, and how you give communication.
Absolutely.
And so, that was all a part of our foundation, once we got married.
I like that. I think that now you talk a lot about communication and learning each other's love language. We didn't have that verbiage 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have it. It was just, we got to figure this out. So now we got to figure out your love language, and we have all these different ways to communicate. How were you, who was your outlet, or who were your resources to try to navigate that? Because again, this is a role that you're new to outside of your grandparents. Who were you as a Black man saying, hey, bro, I don't get this. I don't know how I'm going to do this. How does this work? Who were you reaching out to get that advice?
Well, in my situation, I was kind of lucky. I have a tremendous support in friends that are now family. And so I'm actually the last person in my friend group, in my close friend group, to get married.
Wow.
So I got some friends that's going on 15 years, some that's going on 20 years. So I'm really the last one to, get married, have kids, buy a house, all of those things. I'm late behind. So I was always able to kind of get firsthand knowledge off of their situations and, also to pose my own questions on what was going on in my relationship, to see if that's something that they had ever encountered, or, how do I maneuver in this type of situation with my spouse? I was able to lean on them for that insight and also look to them for inspiration. So, shout out to, my close friend group who who walked down the aisle before me. I feel like I reaped all the benefits of their marriage, and was able to put it in mind.
that. So I want to ask two different questions about this. First, because this is about marriage from a Black parent's perspective, and I definitely want to give insight to the ladies. So before I do that, though, I got to ask this: how important is it to have that supporting circle around for young men that are taking this step? How important is it to have that circle of supporting friends to guide you, to help you get there? Because birds of a feather flock together, and all your friends are married. So how important was that for you?
I mean, I think you just said it. I think having a close knit group that you see how they're interacting with their spouse. You see how they're managing their household. I've had some friends, when it's time to hang out, they like, no, I can't hang out. And at the time, of course, you want to clown them or but that's something that I respected. Like, these are men who are transitioning into becoming family men, and so I think a part of that is not the fact that, your wife or your husband got you on a leash or, any of that. It's about considering this person's feelings and taking them into account. So, being single, you don't really have to answer to another person. That's
right.
kind of the beauty of being single. But when you're married, you are jointly connected with another person. So you have to absolutely consider their feelings and, how they feel about you hanging out, 4 or 5 nights out the week. I mean, that's, I don't think nobody would be cool with that. And then on top of that, you sprinkle in y'all having kids together. Like, that means one person is being stuck with the kids all day, and all week. So, how they were able to kind of manage both their lives and also their lives together and also their separate lives was able to help me out a great deal. But yeah, I think it's a stigma about with young men specifically that if they're taking into account their woman's feelings, that makes them soft or, whatever. But that's just being considerate. You know what I'm saying? So I don't look at it as a leash. My wife and I are very understanding of each other's person, because that's also a part that goes into marriage. Like, yeah, y'all share this life together, but y'all also have to have that individual time for one another. We both have our own space that we have to operate in. So whether it's me, creating art in my studio away from the family, whether that's her, hanging out with her girlfriends, whatever. Like, we know that that's a mandatory thing that we both need to have established in our marriage to even make our marriage work. Because if I'm seeing you day in and day out, I'm not even getting a chance to miss you. You know what I'm saying? And vice versa. She's not getting a chance to miss me. So that's something that's vital and something that's key also, is that you don't want to lose yourself in your marriage.
I love that. We're gonna piggyback off that. I want to talk about this because we got to get a lady some game. Mr. Lockhart, you've been doing this for a while. You've seen a lot of things. You work in the schools. You got the friends. So we got to give the lady some insight. What is something that you wish you would have had, maybe the verbiage to tell your wife when you were first getting married? Like, what are some things that you wish you would have been able to tell her? Like, maybe we could work like this, or I think if you do this, this will help me this way. What were some things you wish you could have told her then? Or do advice you have young women getting married now to help them navigate stepping into this?
Well, let me preface this by saying, in no way am I the spokesperson for, all men. I'm not Steve Harvey. I don't have any, I can only tell you from my perspective. One thing.
So we speaking for the men with some sense, not Pookie and Ray that be cheating on you. Not your baby daddy that can't act right. Not that be bopping you up. No, he's talking for the men with a decent head on their shoulders, a good 9-to-5 regular man.
No, okay. I would say one of the things that was very vital in my marriage early on was establishing those ways of communication. because, you know, early on, my wife and I, we struggled with communicating with one another. You know, there were certain things that she expected of me. There were certain things that I expected of her, but neither one of us let those expectations be known. So we kind of put these unfair, you know, expectations on one another without even telling each other. So just simple things like that, you know, really saying how we felt, you know, becoming vulnerable. Because like I said, you know, you still have to, even though you're married, you still had a, you still gotta um, kind of learn, you know, how you fit people into, you know, this marriage. You know, that's not something that happens, you know, right off the bat once you say I do. So that's a work in progress. So that was probably the main thing, just establishing that effective way of communicating with one another. You know, there would be times that, you know, my wife would tell me all the time, it's not what you say, but how you say it. You know, and I'm thinking like, well, I mean, I said it regular, you know, but regular to me may not be regular to her. So I had to learn, you know, how she receives my communication and how I give off my communication, you know, maybe a little bit different for her, you know.
How would you have liked her to communicate with you? What, and just in that, and then you know how women talk. How do you think in general women can better communicate with their men as they're navigating this? How can women better communicate with their men navigating through this getting married stage?
I think that women can talk to men in respectful ways. I'm not saying you gotta um, be submissive, and you know, I mean, some guys are like that. Some women are like that. They can't wait for a guy to, you know, be submissive to or whatnot. But you know, you don't have to belittle, you know, your guy. You don't have to talk to him as, you know, a kid or you know, anything like that. That's seen as disrespect or taken as disrespect. I think, and that's vice versa. You know, for men as well. You know, but I would say aside from that, just being open and honest. You know, because that's when you really start to um, you know, let your vulnerability shine. And then that's also building another notch into your marriage.
Absolutely.
Whenever you can become vulnerable with one another, you know, two people having pride in a marriage, you know, and both of them are afraid to, you know, apologize or say, I'm sorry, I'm wrong, or, you know, you hurt me when you said this, or, you know, I didn't like what you did. Like, don't hide behind, you know, just being quiet. You know what I'm saying? Because I could be thinking everything is all right, and you sitting around like, I want to kill this dude, you know, for something
So
that
ladies,
happened.
speak up.
Yeah, for something that happened two days ago. So I would say definitely being open and honest and not letting things fester and linger.
I like that. I like that. I think you hit on a very good point. You talked about expectations and
Mm-hmm.
women thinking men can be mind readers. And I think that this is something that I've seen just across the board of women not communicating their expectations and wanting
Yeah.
them to read their mind. Was that something that you struggle with at either early on or still or now? I don't want to get you in trouble on Valentine's Day. So
No. I wouldn't say that's something. I don't think that was ever. That wasn't necessarily our story. I can kind of tell when I did something that pissed my wife off, you know, because she, you know, she gets quiet, you know. And one thing that so I'm one of them people that um, I like to meet conflict head on. So if it's something that I did wrong, something that, you know, I don't like the way you said something to me, or I didn't receive it that way, like I want to talk about it right then and there. My wife's not like that. You know, she has to take, you know, a couple days, a couple hours to kind of process um, her feelings, and from there be able to effectively communicate what she's feeling, you
right.
know, towards me. Um, and that's something that I kind of had to learn to adjust to, because, you know, I can know, like I said, I can tell when something's, you know, wrong with her. And I'm coming at her like, okay, let's talk, right? You know, and she like, I don't want to talk. And it's like, I'm getting mad because she mad. So it's like, okay, I get it. I get that you're upset. Whenever you are in the headspace to, talk about it and, let me know, I'm here, and I'll just kind of leave it at that. And so that's something that definitely didn't happen overnight. Because like I said, I'm one of the people that I don't want to go to bed mad,
Aww.
I'm not about to lay in my bed next to the person that we got tension with and expect to get a good night's sleep. Like I'm looking, I'm sleeping with one eye open, trying to make sure she's not trying to smother me or something, So, it's just, just adjusting to one another. That definitely ultimately takes the most time. It's just adjusting to each other's, moods and quirks that we, both have about each other.
I like that. So we're gonna fast forward along through the marriage. Y'all passed the newlywed stage. Y'all been doing it for a couple years now. Mm-hmm. So I want to bring in some things that, Lord, we're gonna bring in some trendy conversations that I would like to think maybe you're out of the loop, that you may only hear about if you're in the school. Okay. I don't feel like this is something that I doubt you and your friends are having this conversation. These are my friends having these stupid conversations. Let's see. Submission, because you brought the word up before I could get there. Submission. Was this a big deal when you were getting married? Was that something that was brought, like, I want a submissive wife? Was that something that you were talking about? Or y'all were talking about?
No, I'm not. Well, for one, I'm not that type of guy. Like, I don't need my wife to, fix my plate. And okay, let me backtrack. Right, one of the things that I'm glad my dad and my grandfather both instilled in me is that, you got to be able to take care of yourself, right?
Absolutely.
So I never, there's nothing that a woman can give me that I can't do for myself, outside of, the obvious. But I wash my own clothes. I can cook. I can clean. All of those things. So I'm not necessarily looking for my wife to be, my beck and call to, hey, fix my plate. And I'm not like that. So me looking for somebody, to be submissive to me, that's not really my style. Like we are both right here. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the foundation of our marriage. I feel like there are certain things that she brings to the table that are invaluable that I don't, and there are certain things that I bring to the table that she doesn't. And so we kind of mesh those things together for the ultimate good of both parties involved.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I'm not, and none of my friends really are the submissive type. Like no doubt, we both have our roles. Like I'm not expecting my wife to be taking out the trash, and she definitely ain't touching the trash. You know what I'm saying? So, it's just certain roles and responsibilities that we established early on, to kind of go in tune with our expectations of one another, if that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. Bring me to another good point, because we're gonna go through these little myths. These conversations are popping up, and I'm so tired of hearing them. And we talking about them 50-50.
Yeah.
They talk. Have you heard about this conversation? Yeah. Have you heard the kids talking about it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we talk. Me and my friends talk about it.
What are your thoughts on? So this is the male perspective. I want a woman that's gonna go 50-50 on the bills, but they stop there. They only want 50-50 on the bills, but they still expect her to be able to go to work her 9 hours a day, take care of the kids, do the bulk of the kids, do the bulk of the housework, but they demanding this 50-50 on these bills. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I think that 50-50 can be a great thing depending on how those individuals choose to run their household. In my household, I make the majority. I make the most money between my wife and I. So of course I pay the majority of the bills. But so her pot of money goes towards paying. It might go towards paying the mortgage. My other part goes to paying the utilities, all of the bills, the water bill, the heat, electricity, the groceries, all of those things. So we kind of had that aligned, even when we were living in an apartment. We didn't necessarily go half on bills. It was more so who made the most money. I mean, that only makes the most sense.
Really
so
do.
if I'm a guy and my woman is making more than me, then I mean, I think it's only right that she would pay the majority of the bills. And that's not to say you just sitting back with your feet up, expecting her to do X, Y, and Z. Like, no, you help out where you can. So if that means taking some time, off of your woman, some energy off of your woman, and cooking most nights and watching the kids and taking them here and there. Yeah, I mean it's a trade-off, because you got one part of the marriage that's monetary, and you got the other part of the marriage that's time-based. So a lot of women can say, hey, sure, if you can, if I'm paying the majority of the bills, but you can take care of the house, I mean, she might find that invaluable. She might be fine with that. When she got to come home, she ain't got to cook, clean, or do nothing. Everything is taken care of. So I think it really depends on how those particular relationships choose to operate. It really just boils down to that. Some women, they feel like, hey, the man should be paying, I don't care what he make or, what I make. My money is my money and his money is my money, and, he should be paying the majority of the bills. Some men think that. And it's like, hey,
true. That's true.
Growing up, my daddy paid everything or whatever. So, that's all I know. I'm going to pay for, the household, everything, just like my dad. That's not necessarily my wife's and I arrangement or, how we do things. But, I mean, it works for us.
And that's all.
And it's continued to work for us. So.
I like that. So I have a question. This is pretty basic. It's not that deep. But what would you say to a young lady who she's, let's say they about to get married, and now he's telling her, this is what I need in my wife. And that's not what she going for. That's not what she believes. She don't agree with that. Do they work through it? Or do you say, you know what, let me find somebody who more so aligns with what I'm looking for, what I'm interested in?
I mean, I very much admire people who are steadfast in knowing precisely, what they look for in a mate.
Absolutely.
So I think that something that they have to determine on whether or not this is something worth salvaging, or if this is something that's, hey, this is a non-negotiable for me. This is what, I'm expecting to have in my marriage, to have in my wife, to have in my husband. And if you're not willing to meet me there, then, I'm sorry, but I gotta find that person that, meets my requirements.
Right.
I think it's really as simple as that. Some people have like one of the big topics that I've heard a lot is some people want to have kids, some people don't. So
my number one.
Right. And there, that's a big thing, to bring a child, into you all's foundation, especially if your foundation is already a little shaky. A child, I'm sorry, is not going to, it ain't going to bring that thing together. You know what I'm saying?
Y'all hear that?
Yeah. If anything, it's going to push y'all further apart. So, I definitely think that if they are that strong in their convictions of what they want, don't settle. If it's something that you absolutely, look, this is a non-negotiable for me. This is what I need to have in order for, me to have a successful marriage. Then, if you can't provide that, I'm sorry, but I got to go look for, for that other person that can provide that for me.
I like that. All right, so we're gonna fast forward. Staying married. I feel like that's where the word come in at. So let's talk about a lot of people. I have friends that are married. I got a couple friends that are married, a couple siblings.
Okay.
So people talk about maintenance. Like it's not hard to be together, but it takes work to stay together. What would
Oh,
you say?
absolutely.
You said what?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Sure.
So what would you say was like I don't know, was like a maintenance tool? Like what was something that you say you have to work at every so often just to make sure that you guys are still together? I know communication is a big thing, prioritizing your individual lives because you have to exist outside of your marriage. What else
Right.
would you say was a maintenance tool and making sure that it ain't gonna always be a smooth running machine, but we can try to stay on the right path so that we don't steer too far off?
I think definitely for me and my wife is quality
Ooh,
time. You know, when you're working, 40 hours a week, um, and then on top of that you have kids, multiple kids.
that's hard.
That takes up a lot of your
It
time,
does.
and so a lot of times, my wife and I, we don't necessarily have on a typical day, we may not, have alone until 9, 10 o'clock. So definitely one of the things that I've pretty much taken on is date nights. Just because you're married, that don't mean that you stop dating your spouse. The same things that you did while y'all were boyfriend and girlfriend, going together, whatever. Those things don't go away once you're married. I would say, if anything, those things need to be more a part of your marriage, because you're going to have times where y'all may not be able to get a night together, or some quality time together for weeks. So you gotta be creative. That's when your creativity has to kick in. That's when maybe planning something for the whole family, where everyone can enjoy this quality time can kick in. But definitely you don't want to lose sight of that quality time with your spouse, because once that happens, you know uh old girl start talking to you, you liking the attention that you're getting from her. Old boy start talking to you, and
Woo!
you start, what I'm saying, and y'all get distracted from one another by these outside influences, and then that can ultimately lead to trouble in your marriage. So I always say that I would like for us to be um, our number one influencers in our lives. So I don't need no other guy coming in, trying to talk to my girl, my wife, or whatever. She knows what she got at home. I know what I got at home. So definitely having that creativity to bring about more quality time when y'all both living very hectic lives.
Right. I think you brought up some. I'm gonna touch on this really quickly, and then we're gonna wrap it up with the myths of marriage. So, but you brought up a very good point that I think so many people are scared to talk about: temptation. And
Oh
sometimes
yeah.
it happens, and it's so sometimes we're so scared of the other person feeling a certain type of way if we say something. Why does it sound like I'm stuttering, bro? It's not like temptation is real. It's all around us, and I think that is one of those taboo topics for people to talk about because we all face it.
Yeah.
So what if we're gonna get this to young men. We're gonna get this to young men. What advice do you have for young men who may be facing that?
Facing temptation?
Yeah.
You
They might be straying just a little too far off the path.
No matter, well, let me say this. No matter how faithful, you are, you gonna always face temptation. You know what I'm saying? So my whole belief in, cheating, infidelity, all that, I've never been that type of guy, because I'm very much in tune with karma, right? So I would never want to treat someone a way that I wouldn't want to be treated. So that's how I live my life. in all phases. That's how I live my life. I don't want to give off or project, something that I wouldn't want to be projected onto me. So, with that being said, if I know that that's who I am, my wife trusts that's who I am. I want to always respect her. So I never put myself in positions to have her, um, not trusting me or, doubting. That's the word I'm looking for. I never want to have that doubt, creep up in her head. But temptation that's going to always be there, especially for young men. Young men being on this path of marriage and being faithful within your marriage. I mean, that's wanted by, so many women. So sad to say, that's just going to be something that you're going to always be faced with. But how you maneuver in those situations, not being able to, or not taking things too far with that, temptation. You can be friends. In certain instances, because sometimes friends can, kind of get you in trouble. Yeah, they have ulterior motives.
Y'all know when they ain't your friends.
As long as you have that understanding and that bond with your wife or your significant other, that's going to help you maneuver in those situations of temptation. Like I could come home and tell my wife, like, man, I wore a suit today, and a couple ladies complimented me at the job. My wife ain't tripping. She ain't like, oh, word, where they at it? Like, no, she knows she got a good looking husband. I know I got a good looking wife. That just kind of comes with the territory. I would be more appalled if nobody was checking for my wife. I'm like, well, damn, like nobody likes her.
Nobody wants you. Nah,
yeah,
that's right. Something right.
That just comes with the territory. But really, it's about just understanding and creating those boundaries for oncoming temptation, because it's going to always be there. It's never going to go away.
So then I got a question, because we gotta get the insight is for the ladies, but I definitely want to share from men's perspective. What, I don't even know if you can help with this, but tell me what you think, and then we're gonna get to what can a young woman do? I don't know if you can. What can a young lady do to potentially navigate maybe a situation that has gone too far?
You gotta give me more.
All right, so let's say he ain't cheated, but they've been. And I feel like that's cheating, niggas. You've been texting. So he got a friend. No outside communication.
Well,
what can she do to know?
I think that there are that when you have outside influence that can potentially become disrespectful to your wife or your significant other, male or female. I think that's when things have gone too far. So, if you're texting or receiving text messages, after a certain time of day, that you might want to put some boundaries on that, or already establish boundaries to that, the content of which y'all are having conversations about. If y'all have conversations about sex and that's disrespectful to your spouse. You know what I'm saying? Even if you think like, oh, I got this under control, I'm not gonna do nothing. Nah, that's still strong. Yep. That's a boundary crossed, because like I said, how would you feel if your significant other was engaging in these types of conversations with other people?
Yeah.
And so that's just, not unless y'all, y'all have an open understanding, open marriage, whatever. Man, I tip my hat off to y'all.
Not y'all.
But
not that platform.
Yeah, no, it ain't going down like that.
That foolish. Like, no, I'm not gonna call it foolishness. You like what you like, different strokes for different folks. Whatever.
Yeah, but it happens.
It
happens. I mean, that's quite common. This ring used to be a deterrent. Like, oh, he married. Now it's like, oh, I mean, he married. So they looking at it like it's still fair game.
It really is. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I really think that when I see people that are married and they playing it crazy, I'm like, you playing too close to God to me. That is too close to God to be playing. Get up there in front of all the people and tell them you gonna sit there and you gonna be there, and then you go out here clowning. Because hear me out, I ain't married yet, Mr. Lockhart, but I truly believe in stabbing your spouse, going after your spouse. I do. I feel like people, you don't know what people go through in these marriages. You don't know the time, the energy, the effort they put into it, and it's just a lot of things that I want to say like traditional rules don't apply to regular boyfriend and girlfriend. That you just put a lot more energy and effort into it, and then you out here embarrassing somebody after 10 years. You better hope she don't poison you. You better hope he don't poison you, because I would be all for it. I
mean,
a little sprinkle.
Forsaking all others is in the vows. So I mean that's kind of what you sign up for.
Real carefully out here, embarrassing. All right, so get to the myths, and then we'll go out the same way we came in with something that we are grateful for. Okay. So does it wait? Oh, this is what I want you to answer. How long does it take for a man to know that he gonna marry you?
Oh, I think some people know right off the bat. I would say it's about a year, 2 years tops. You know, in a certain stage of life, and y'all been rocking with each other for however long, and you can't necessarily see yourself with any other person. I mean, I think that's when you kind of know, like, this is the one, for me. But of course, I think that the younger you are, the more susceptible you are to, falling in line with temptations, and you're rightfully so.
Yeah.
Some people may not be ready right out of, high school, right out of college or whatever. But I think that once you establish all of the things that you're looking for in a mate, and, your significant other checks those things off, then, why wait? Why wait?
I like that.
Yeah, why wait?
So 2 years top. That's your final answer. 2 years top.
Well, that's how long it took me.
On average, your homeboys, your cousins, think about how long you think it took them.
Well, some people, were college sweethearts.
Mr. Lockhart, you a man. Mr. Lockhart, how long do it take? She been with this man 3 years, and he ain't said nothing about marriage. Should she be leaving?
No, not 3 years. I mean, I would say you start to get to anything like over 5, because some men, and this is not necessarily a cop-out, like some men do expect to have a certain level of status, to their life before they actually, join, this woman.
Yeah, that makes
to ask her to marry him. But when you start getting into like, we've been together 7 years, and I mean, but also it goes back to the individual understanding. Like, if y'all have an understanding, like, you for me, me for you, and we don't necessarily have to do this in the traditional sense. Yeah. We don't have to do it that way. I mean, that's different. But if it's a situation where y'all have established, yes, I want to get married. Yes, I do want to get married eventually. I would say it shouldn't take no more than 5 years.
No more. Okay. So, yeah. All right. So I'm gonna throw this in because I feel like age matters. We're talking 5 years at 29.
I mean, what that puts you at 34. Oh I don't. Well, what's wrong with that? I don't see nothing wrong with that.
You 30 years old. You ain't got your life together by now. You ain't got a little bit of it together.
a woman's standpoint,
yeah, woman's different.
she should be able to. Yeah, no. She should be able to cipher at that particular point if he's making progression to get to that level that he wants to be at before he asks to marry you. You don't see him making any progression in 5 years, then I mean I think that's kind of you having your answer right there. Because that means that he's either not interested in getting married or he's not interested in you in that sense. So
that's a hard pill to swallow, ladies. Yeah. Sometimes people do not like you like that. That is just the real. That's a good point. All right, then we got our last myth, because I'm so tired of hearing about this. And I feel like from a woman, my answer is always going to be biased. So I want to hear from a married man. What are 4 benefits that men have to gain from being married?
4 benefits?
Yep.
You get a life partner. You get someone who y'all are pretty much in the trenches together. So you get like how me and my wife operate. We operate like that's my teammate for real. Like not roommate, because I've heard that's been something that's been kind of trendy lately. Like you don't want to have your spouse be your roommate or nothing like that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you need another person on your side to handle life. Life is hard, but it's a little bit easier with someone by your side. So definitely having a life partner, having a teammate, that unconditional love. Like it's different tiers. Like you, of course, got your unconditional love that you get from your parents. You also got your unconditional love that you get from your kids, but you also have that unconditional love that you get from your spouse. Absolutely. Because once y'all get married, 9 times out of 10, y'all both gonna gain weight. So really, you can't necessarily rely on the physical. If you are wanting to go into a marriage and you want to have kids, that's going to bring about a strain on your marriage, because y'all both helping out and y'all both putting the kids first. So y'all have to kind of reestablish time for one another.
Yeah. So
that's 3 right there. And the last one, I'll go back to the beginning. It's a blessing. It truly is to have someone be down for you, within sickness and health. And I'm going back to the vows, but all of those things goes like that wasn't established just for no reason. Like those things are real. Like you're gonna go through stuff, and if you don't have nobody that's solid by your side, then you might as well go through those things alone. And sadly, some people do.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, but if you're blessed to have a solid person next to you to hold you down, y'all hold each other down, that's nothing short of a blessing.
I like that. I think I'm glad we ended it out on that, because that's what I wanted. Because I'm so tired of these little Negroes to us. Man, don't get nothing. Don't get nothing. I'm like, please.
But it takes time. How old are you, Sherelle?
You really want me to tell you? You gonna feel old if I tell you? 29.
Okay.
Well, how old are you, Mr. Lockhart?
I'm 41. I started teaching when I was 24. What? So I'm not as old as y'all think I am, but
you're not.
It's not. Yeah, that's not Sherelle. So I kind of figured you were around that age frame when you asked the hypothetical question about being 29 and that's gonna the 5 years of marriage.
You know what? I didn't even think about that I said that. I really don't know why I said that, but I did.
All those things.
That's my age.
What I want to say is you're gonna know. You're gonna know as a woman, if your guy is progressing to establishing where he wants himself to be, and then ultimately where he wants y'all to be together. I'm not saying it has to take, 5 years. It could take 2. It could take 10.
Oh,
but as long as you're
God.
seeing
Don't send me.
progression, as long as you're seeing some progression, he's gonna reveal how he feels to you through action.
Ooh,
It's not gonna be through words. It's gonna be through his actions. So that's what you pay attention to. You don't pay attention to, what he tells you. You pay attention to his actions and how he moves.
I like that. Ooh, good way to close this out.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got to go out the same way we came in, which is something that we're grateful for. And because you're my special guest tonight, Mr. Lockhart, I'll let you.
I'm grateful for this time that, I got to share with you. Hopefully, this conversation was enlightening to some. It definitely was enlightening to me. And so I'm just, grateful for the opportunity to kind of share my story and, help out in any way that, that I can.
I like it. And I'm grateful tonight to have you as my special guest. I feel like, you're my first teacher. You're the first teacher I've had to sit down with. So you kicked it off.
I'm honored.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad to have you.
Honored.
So yeah, I'm grateful to have this conversation because I feel like so many times my generation is trying to undo so many things our parents did. And it's not necessarily that we need to undo everything as much as we might just need to revise some things. Everything you don't need to. And it's so, and marriage is one of those. We don't need to undo it. We don't need to go to situationships. Maybe we just need to tweak it a little bit different to fit us. But it's absolutely a topic that we should definitely revisit and work on rebuilding in the Black community. Which is my platform, y'all. Y'all know I'm about the people. I'm against anything against us, and I'm for everything for us. Okay? So that's what I'm grateful for. I'm super grateful to have you as my first teacher back. I'm super grateful that you shared your wisdom with us. And I'm sure this conversation will be of help to not only myself, but someone else that is going to watch it because I'm definitely going to put the edits out. All right?
Appreciate it.
So that's all I got. You got any other? We got to tell people where to go look at your art because you're a phenomenal artist. I see it behind you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You can follow me on IG, locks_art_designs. You can also check out my webpage, www.locksartdesigns.com. Check it out. I got a couple of shows that's featuring some of my artwork right now, and it's all on my social media and my website.
I like it. So make sure y'all go follow him. I think that's all we got for tonight's episode on Valentine's Day, you guys. My name is Sherelle Carter. I'm the host of Let's Talk the Show, y'all, and this ain't a podcast. I'll see y'all next Tuesday. Peace.
Appreciate it.